To the former Labour Chancellor Alistair, who is chair of the Better Together campaign, I put it to him that politicians in Westminster and in Europe seem to be telling the Scots what they just can't do.
Well, I disagree with you. What's happened in the last few days is that one issue which has been central to this campaign for a long time, and that is what currency would we use in the event of Scotland becoming independent, that's come to the fore. What is clear is that a currency union of the sort that Alex Salmond dreamt up a couple of years ago is not going to work, it's not going to happen. And what we're now finding is that he won't tell us what currency you use instead of the pound. Now, when you think about it, the currency you use, the pound you've got in your wallet or your purse, is absolutely critical to the future of the country, critical to jobs, critical to people's individual well-being. So that is what is now centre stage, and it's likely to remain so.
But all the signs are that you people are frit and that you're stirring the fear pot, trying to frighten Scots into believing in some way they can't go it alone. This is desperation.
Well, that's not true, and if you come up here, you'll see that it's not true. What is happening at the moment is that we have a pound, a common currency. It works because it's underpinned by an economic and a political union. What the nationalists are doing is putting forward a different proposition, and remember, until recently, they used to refer to the pound as being a millstone around Scotland's neck. So their attachment to a currency union is something that is, fairly recent. But we're entitled to ask questions. If there is no currency union, and I don't believe there is going to be a currency union, then what is the alternative? Are we going to have a new currency? Are we going to have to join the euro? Are we going to use the pound like Panama uses the US dollar? Now, it is not unreasonable for those of us who actually live in Scotland, who intend to be in Scotland after the referendum, to ask Alex Salmond which of those options are we going to be stuck with.
So even you must be beginning to feel a bit ambivalent. I mean, the way in which the Scots are being talked about by outsiders is as if they were a third world country. The fact of the matter is it's a developed country which may or may not have the desire to go it alone. And if they want to go it alone, everybody in this country will find a way of working with an independent Scotland.
Look, for goodness sake, I haven't heard anyone talking about Scotland on those terms, frankly.
Well, what about Mr Barroso? What about Mr Cameron? What about Mr Osborne? All these people have been going up to Scotland or staying in a studio in London and telling the Scots they're not up to it.
I just profoundly disagree with you. And if you take David Cameron's speech, it was really a call to arms for the rest of the UK. If you take George Osborne's speech, he, Ed Balls and Danny Alexander, who happens to be Scottish, they all said the same thing. They don't think and don't believe a currency union will work. And I'd tell you something else that you might ought to bear in mind. Even if the opinion polls here are half right, most people in Scotland are not convinced by Alex Salmond. So it isn't a fight between Scotland and the rest of the UK. And also, I'm Scottish. I'm fiercely proud of being Scottish. I think highly of my country. I just think we'll be better and stronger if we're part of the United Kingdom.
If you believe the polls, and you clearly do, then you would also believe the reality, which is that in the last 6 takings of any polls, they have been tightening, not dramatically, but edging slightly towards...
Yes, a tiny bit, yes.
Yeah, well, that can grow into a bit of a landslide, and you people are panicking.
Oh, for goodness sake, the opinion polls have hardly changed in the last 6 months. I will continue, we will continue to mount a campaign that is strongly positive about the United Kingdom and about Scotland's future in it, because of the jobs, because of the opportunities and the security that come of being part of something bigger, our influence within the European Union, and we know that small countries have far less influence than large countries there, as well as the strong bonds that have been built up over the last 300 years that have seen Scotland and the rest of the UK do better than they would ever have done if they'd been apart.
Alistair, thank you very much indeed.